Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. 1/24/2024, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show live. And today we got Beth, Andy, Robert, and I'm Brian. And it's Wednesday, so that means we are going to talk about all the AI news that we and individually thought was interesting. So just if you're new here, if you're just listening to this show, we do this every Wednesday and we don't know what the other co-hosts are going to bring up, which is always super fun. We don't get together before this because I think the fun of it is that while we all have sort of the top stories a lot of times that we're aware of, we're all learning along with everybody else. So it's fun. We've been doing this for a couple months now, but it's a good midweek pause. Hey, what happened in the last 7 days in the world of AI? What do we think our audience would love to know about, that we think is interesting, cool, all of the above. And then we just kind of go from there. So I will be happy to kick this off or throw this to anybody who feels like they have a, hey, this has got to be talked about. I have a few as always, but does anybody have a hold the phone? We've got to talk about this first. This came out in the last 7 days.
I'll jump in. Oh, no, go ahead, Beth. I insist.
So this came out this morning, or maybe last night. Google released Lumiere, which is a research paper showing really amazing text to video. It's not slow, right? It's normal, that kind of stuff. They released something earlier. Now this is more elaborated, and I can actually, yes, I can share my screen. Okay.
Lumiere.
Lumiere. Yep.
Lumiere. Okay.
Like from Beauty and the Beast, the little candle guy.
That's what I was thinking.
So these are text to video, right? And so what we're just seeing, you can go to lumiere-video.github.io if you're listening
to this.
That's
not hard at all.
Like the there's just a lot of natural movement in this. You can also do AI to video. You can do stylized generation. Cool. You can have a particular style here, and it changes all of your video generations to match that style.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
You can have video stylization, same idea. Yeah, like this is just, you can have cinemagraphs. This is a new word for me, but this is where you basically animate a section of a still video. And those are very cool. Like, it isn't that this isn't possible with like mapping together a ton of little tools. I believe what they're showing is the back end that they're doing this, and it's allowing a bunch of modifications to be made in one tool. This is also like product placement kind of stuff. You're able to modify a video so that there are different clothes being worn by the person, and the video stays the same, right? Like the person is now just moving in the different clothes.
I want to point out for anybody that's not be able to see this. Beth, just really quick.
What is this?
Sorry, just real quick on the thing. Well, I just want to point out really quick that. Sorry, I was just going to say that they're not watching the same. They're not wearing the same clothes, and we've seen before where you can just change the color of a dress. But what's really cool about this from a marketing is the model that's walking through the field of flowers is wearing various different dresses that hang on her differently. That's really, really cool when you think about that because of what that would do for like marketing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just for people who aren't seeing this, it's cool.
They're all strapless back view of a dress, with the same height of dress up the back. It's not changing the entire outfit, but you're right. It does, convincingly show the colorways that are possible in a product catalog with very little change.
But just to agree with Brian, that there are several different nuanced where one of them had on the arm, one of them had more of a bust. So it was able to completely change the dress color pattern and how it fit her, even though she walked the same, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Very
One
cool.
of them is tighter on her butt. One of them is flowier, so it's like playing in the flower field. Sorry for people who are listening, but this is very cool. And go to post on the 24th of January, and you'll be able to see a lot of people talking about this. So
I think too, like this R, I mean, we talk about ROI. We had somebody a couple weeks ago talk about the ROI of like AI and stuff. And I look at stuff like this and I go, I mean, maybe not today, but maybe in a few months as it gets more ironed out or whatever. If you're in marketing, if you're creating creative ads, oh my God, do you have so many tools at your disposal now to save money, create, whereas if you're a small shop and you're like, we don't have the money to try this 4 different ways. Okay, we'll take our currently best-selling dress in blue and we'll go pay for one model to go down, whatever the case is, right? And now they don't have to do that. They don't have to put all their eggs in one basket. They can easily create, creative ads that maybe it's for the pink dress or whatever it is, whatever the product is. It doesn't have to be clothes. I just think it's super cool. That's all.
Well, if you remember, I want to say 6 to 8 months ago, not to brag, but I did mention something very similar to this that was being done somewhat differently, where you could tell the website what is your body type, and would show what a model who had that body type was wearing that outfit. I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant! You're going to sell so much crap if you can show somebody what they look like in that. Like, I'm 190 pounds, I'm 5'9". Show me, I was like, yes, I'll buy. Oh, that won't work. I want a large or an extra large. You would sell so much stuff. This is another version, just to kind of piggyback on Beth's. I saw this today from Adobe. It's called Act Anywhere. You basically take a video, you give the second input is an image of a background, and you show that video happening with that background. And this one is a runner running on water, because it showed the second image was a picture of a lake, and it will do the splashing of the water and everything. Now, how cool is that? So it's kind of same kind of idea where you're taking video and you're modifying it, but this is just the background. So you're just changing the background as opposed to inside of the content. Now, melding those two together is just, it's coming. Everybody's working on this, and I feel like this is going to be like, you're going to expect it. And I swear, if you were 20 years ago seeing this stuff, you would say it was magic. You would say, "What's the wizard in the computer?" It would just blow your mind. If you're 100 years ago, you would say it's like the devil. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
So anecdotally, also Matt Wolf just quickly said, put a post on X saying, "Hey, so like 3 weeks ago when I did my 2024 predictions, I said no way we're gonna have like video 30 to 60 minute AI generated video. I take that back.
Yeah.
I can't tell you what I've seen, but based on what I've seen, I take that back. That's gonna happen in 2024. So
I think what you just showed too, Robert, is like, I just really quickly, it makes me think of influencers, and I'm pro influencers. I think there's a lot of value to it. I have friends that are in the influencer market, both from the creator side as well as people who consider themselves to be influencers. And I think there's a necessity or need for that. It's good. However, we've all seen the pictures of like influencer perfectly crafted picture of, like, let's say the Taj Mahal, and then it's like somebody else from 4 feet away and they're like reality, and it's like 1,000 people in that space, and it makes it look like they're there by themselves. And anyway, Robert, I look at or like tools like that, and I go, man, some hotel is going to just go to some influencer who has not left their office like this, and they're like, hey, we'll pay you $1,000 if you can just show you sitting up at our cool pool on the 40th floor, overlooking the city at night or whatever. And they're going to go, that was, by the way, if you can't see me, that's me doing my typing on a computer, and it's going to output this AI video of them doing exactly that, and they're never going to leave their office. And like, why would the hotel care? They're like, we just need the image. We don't care that you were actually here on site. I don't know. It's crazy. Anyway, what's up next?
I want to follow on Google's impressive demonstration of video. And I wish Carl were here, because Carl's a skeptic about Google, and I'm a fan of Google's. I believe that Google will always come from behind and surprise. And I think their video capabilities are pretty impressive. But in addition, we talk about, Google losing its core business, but one of its core businesses is the browser Chrome.
Yes.
Now, Chrome is huge. And what they've done now is they've integrated a number of AI facilities within Chrome. The simplest one to explain would be simply that even if you're on another website and you're having to type in something, you can ask it to help you write that. Okay, that just right from the browser. You don't have to buy a subscription or anything. It's just Chrome with AI assistant built into it. So I think that's going to really popularize and introduce AI tools to a really, really broad audience. So I have a couple other things, but I'll just add one right now, which is one of the concerns that we always have about generative AI is the ability to do deep fakes and to plagiarize, in effect. That really makes for a really urgent need for us to be able to detect when AI was used to generate some text. And there's a research paper that came out with a new technique called binoculars. It's a methodology of using AI to detect whether something that it is presented has been generated by another AI. And it had an astounding 90% detection rate with less than 1% false positives. So it's basically saying, okay, we've got the tools now. We've got AIs that can tell when other AIs are generating the text. So that's a major advancement.
Yeah. And one of the things that came out just, I think, in the last 2 days is in the States, we're having our primaries leading up to the presidential election later on this year. There was one that came out, they said they felt was very, very likely to be a fake robocall that was made for President Biden. And essentially, I listened to it on like CNBC or whatever. And essentially, this robocall was Biden basically saying, hey, there's no reason to vote in the primaries. It doesn't matter. Just wait. So anyway, like the idea was it was dissuading people from voting. Right. And of course, this happened to be a Biden one, but of course, it could have been on the other side, too. I don't think it has anything to do with a particular political party. It's just that this is concerning. And they've said, like, look, maybe this will be the wake up call that at least in the States we need for laws and oversights for this kind of thing. Hopefully it's going to wake some people up that this exists, because there's some real fears that come along with the elections and how AI will play a part in that with cloning and stuff. So I don't know, maybe tools like binoculars will be really, really helpful for that, because the general public needs to know when these things are being deceptive and so on and so forth. It was interesting. They said too, like there's laws against dissuading people from voting. That's a law that exists. However, there really aren't clear laws about how AI and cloning are being used. And so like, there's not even a clear way right now to go after people who might have been behind this. And they're like, it's hard to tell what even tools were used. And it's so easy that anybody with 5 minutes worth of YouTube knowledge can do with 30 seconds of it. It's just ridiculously easy. So anyway, just wanted to bring it up since you mentioned it, Andy, as far as this cloning of voices and things like that. It's just getting harder and harder.
So just to clarify, it sounded like in the beginning you were saying that you weren't sure whether this was a deep fake. 100% deep fake, like giving absolute misinformation.
No, it's what I was saying, Beth, just to be clear, was that in the news report I said, somebody was quoted as saying like, yes, we believe this has all the markings, clipped voices, drop tones, things that aren't exactly like the way Biden speaks. But they were saying, of course, you never know for sure with this. In other words, they weren't willing to put like the stamp on it that says we are 1,000% sure that this is a deep fake. But maybe you saw something differently, but that was what I was referring to.
So the content of the video makes it 1,000% for sure a deep fake.
I know,
right?
but
because there's
careful.
No way that Biden made the statement.
I know, but let's be careful. Let's be careful here, because obviously we're trying to stay bipartisan, whatever the word is. But Brian's point is not that he went to the content. His point is look for the markers that make it disingenuous or fake content. It's clear as day this time, Beth, but next time it might not be that clear, so that you can't actually say the content is invalid because it's so wildly crazy.
Right.
So,
totally get that. Yeah. I'm just saying one of the markers is if the statement doesn't make sense from the person who is supposed to say that. Right.
Well, again, though,
as
doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah.
That clearly they thought that they would get people to not go to the polls because of it. You know, I mean, listen,
next time it's gonna be much more nuanced. Next time it's gonna be it's gonna not say it blatantly. It's like, you know, that there's flooding at the polling station, so we're gonna have to close it down today. Like something very much believable, but not overtly trying to keep you from voting, right? So I don't know.
Anyway, so that's something that was out there. I guess I'll throw one out really quick because I did a post about it and we used it. 11 Labs, which just recently hit a unicorn status. 11 Labs is not one of the first, but they've definitely been around they've only been around for a year actually, which is crazy. But they do voice cloning. Speaking of, so this is a good segue. And they've gotten better and better and better. There was always one of my favorite tools in terms of their ability to voice clone. So they just came out with something called dubbing. I'll just hit it really quick. I'll share my screen. And they have this new dubbing studio. And what I did was I grabbed an actual clip from this show. It happened to be me, Beth, and Andy. I was just looking for any clip where there was multiple people speaking just to get a feel for it. So I had it, I'll show it in a second, but I had it dub over to Spanish. And what I wanted to know is, I put a Facebook post out, or excuse me, a LinkedIn post about it today. I wanted to know, like, well, how accurate was it about breaking out our voices? And it broke out all the audio on separate tracks, which was really, really interesting to see, and it gave me a lot of flexibility about changing up the transcript a little bit and things like that. So I'll share it just super quick. We don't need to watch the whole thing. But I want to make sure share tab audio. Yep. So this guy right here. So hopefully we'll be able to hear this. And I'm just going to play a little bit at the beginning, middle, and end so you can hear the three different voices.
Simplemente en mi casa.
You guys hear that?
No diré su nombre.
I can't understand it.
Realmente.
Sí. You can hear. So I want to point out there, that's me, Beth, and Andy all speaking over each other. And I don't know about the translation quality, but what I'll say is it's impressive that when it broke out those tracks, it just layers them and they become 3 layers. And so it has no issue doing all 3 translations, even if we can't clearly hear what like Andy is saying because it's sort of in the background. And then if we go to the middle here, Beth, I don't know, we think Beth sounds exactly like she would in Spanish.
Más de sentido para mí porque tengo, no todo el tiempo, pero la experiencia del coche donde mi iPhone se ha conectado vía.
I got iPhone out of that. And then Andy here at the
great, Beth. I didn't know you could speak Spanish. That's hilarious.
I had a mental like, wow.
Sabe cómo se ve esto a gran escala, pero es demostrable mucho más natural y fluido en su interacción contigo que Siri conmigo.
I love the way it gets Andy's vocal inflections. You know, so it's
Let me point out one thing about those, though. You know, I think the best examples of this translation ability for video has really very accurate lip translation as well, meaning the like video that they're seeing is synced with the new language. This wasn't doing that. This was just the audio part of it, but that's enough for most people. Who cares if the lips are out of sync? But eventually those things will merge, right? So this very capable translation from 11 Labs will match up with the video modifications that allow the video to actually appear to be speaking correctly with the lip.
If anybody's watched an old Jackie Chan movie or any kung fu movie, right, where they overdub the voice, you always have the voice actor that isn't quite the same vein as the actor. But this technology, even just the basic, like you could be a college student and take 20 movies from the 1970s and overdub them with this technology and already be better. Like it's going to sound better. The inflection is going to be better. It's going to be in the right tone of the original actor, and it's not going to sound fake and stupid. That's just fun to to me.
Another $1 million idea. Thank you, Robert. This is a daily AI show, $1 million idea. Go back to all the great libraries of videos that never were overdubbed in the other languages and offer those up. That's a great idea.
I think you're right in terms of the like the more the hey gen matching of the mouth. Like right now, that would be a laborious process to do that for like a feature length movie. But to your point, Andy, it won't always be. It'll at some point it'll be some button you click and it'll say, what do you want to translate it into? So I actually think it's really cool because, you know, let's take something even more modern like Squid Games on Netflix. Huge international phenomenon, but it was overdubbed, and I found it very, very difficult to watch as an overdub. I usually do. My wife is trying to learn French right now, so she watches a lot of overdub stuff. So just take something like Squid Games where Netflix goes, yeah, okay, well, just say what language you want to see it in, and then it's going to sync up to the mouth. It's going to sound like the original actor, all of the above, like you guys are saying. So I think that's super, super cool. Okay, let's see. We got a couple more minutes here. Just on the Google one, I'm going to throw one out there. You were talking about things that that Google added, Andy. Also, Gemini powered chat coming to Google Ads. Not surprised to see AI more and more and more in the ad space. We were just talking about marketing earlier. Obviously, it's going to be in the best interest of a Google or a Facebook or Meta or whatever to inject more AI tools into it. I do worry, as being somebody who, you know, years ago, 2015, I was running Facebook ads for myself and other companies. And it's a slippery slope. You know, if you're a small company, it was very easy to lose a lot of money quickly. It was tough. You could make money, but a lot of times it was like gambling. You usually came out on the wrong side of it. What they're doing is they're saying, hey, we have these, in this particular case, hey, we're using the ability for you to do like search and text, and we'll show you what a high converting ad most likely would be. It has an excellent score on conversions, and we're going to help you put those out there. That may be true. And honestly, if it increases conversions, no harm, no foul. That's exactly what the end user is trying to get out of it. But I do worry a little bit the small businesses that have a very limited budget, and it's a shoestring budget, and it's, you know, coming, in my case, it was coming out of our pocket, right? I mean, it wasn't like I had investors or anything. And my wife and I were trying to do right by that, to put out ads to reach our target audience, so on and so forth. I just worry, and I hope that this is like AI for good, and this isn't AI to line the pockets of the ad creators like Google and Meta. Great technology if it works, if it raises your conversion rates, fantastic. But it could also empty some pockets, and that scares me. So just want to bring that up as well.
Okay, so I have a couple of news, I think. Let's start with sharing my screen. So share screen. I'm trying to be fast, and here we go. And window, and entire screen, no window. And it is you guys. I'm going to share you, but it's going to only be for a second. Whoa! Okay, so alpha geometry, for those who are Mensa people. Actually, Mensa people, for people who are do math Olympiad, Mensa is like kindergartners to them. So what we're trying to talk about with this article is that they came out with alpha geometry, which is able to compete head to head almost with those math Olympiads, International Mathematical Olympiad gold medalist kind of level, specifically just in geometry. This was is a paper that basically was put out. And I love this particular paper because it's showing that we can create a little bit more visual and a little bit more creative mathematical language models. Because before they were kind of suffering in the performance of GPT-3 and 3.5 and whatnot. This is specifically designed to tackle the geometry, and it did really well. So that was kind of a leap forward, in my opinion, for language models. Another leap forward paper that I think we want to talk about is C-ACT. Has anybody heard about this one?
No.
Very generically, this one basically was trained to go and compare an iPhone 15 Pro Max with an iPhone 13 Pro Max on the Apple homepage. And it instructed it to scan it, and using GPT-4 Vision, it could select items on the website, make decisions, click on things. And so obviously it's not perfect. About 50% needed to still be explained by a human. But I think this is where it's going. When we talk about agents for a while, this is another example of a generalist web agent that is going to be slowly employed by different actors, different tools. Say with the Rabbit, for example, but this won't require specialized training. It will hopefully just use the embedded language model or vision model tools to actually go and peruse websites that were designed for humans and interact with them, which is what this whole paper is kind of leading to, which I thought was
excellent.
kind of.
Do you have another one?
And finally, OpenAI announced its first partnership with a university. So they're partnering with the Arizona State University, and which is interesting to me the way I read this. Will have the university will have full access to ChatGPT Enterprise and plans to use it for coursework, tutoring, and research, and more. Now think about the students, just the staff and faculty and the university. So I'm curious how they're going to how do you say it?
It did say that they plan to create an
the
AI
students will have it
for students.
Yeah, but tutoring, not like you're going to have coursework or you're going to be allowed to use your ChatGPT. They haven't quite talked about that, but so that's a whole nother topic. But
I think that's really the way you would use it. Is you would have an assistant, which is your tutor. You can interact with that without supervision, and it's going to be able to be used to learn the subject. I think that's what they mean by AI tutor.
Well, I think AI tutor is just like Khan Academy's AI tutor, which is which is not really using AI. It's more for the teachers to help students learn content using an AI tool, not what I'm proposing. Sorry, Beth.
Well, and I was just going to say, like, it's going to be different per class, right? So this does not sound like it's telling the teacher what the AI policy has to be in the class. Like if you're teaching coding, you might have a different thing than if you're teaching research papers, right? You're going to have a different AI policy about how much it can be used.
Of course, they have to 100%.
And think about that, like the cost on that too. Like it's pennies, right? We're talking about for an enterprise ChatGPT. I think Carl told us when his company set up for it, look, it's $60 a seat. I mean,
it's a minimum of like 100 seats. I thought something crazy.
Yeah, okay, but no. ASU, right? So like it's for them, they're just going to pass the cost on through tuition, probably 3x or whatever. ASU is going to make out like a bandit. But what I did love about it is they were like, this is for a abundance mindset. Meaning like we don't want our students, the way I read it, at least Robert, was we don't want our students to be capped, their creativity to be capped, their ability to use this. We want an abundance mindset, which is, if you're at ASU, the way I understood it was if you're at ASU, you have access to our enterprise account as a student and faculty and staff, and we are fully expecting you to use this. As well as for like these different tutors and trains that they I guess are going to build into it, which is really, really interesting. I mean, I'll tell you, if my daughter was going to college next year, she's not, but if she was of that age, I would be excited if she was going to ASU and I knew that she was going to, like, she was at a forward thinking university who is not trying to restrict, but actually trying to say, no, let's get more creative thinkers out there in the world. Let's get constructive criticism. Let's do all these things. And by the way, we can also use AI tools to get there. It's not just simply, oh, this will help you cheat. No, it's a reframing of how we think of education, which I think is super cool. Go ahead, Andy. I know you're about to say something.
Yeah. So finally, from me, large language models have demonstrated the ability to mimic in many ways the action of thinking in a human. And prompting can actually create responses that require some kind of reasoning. So here's this, thanks to Marshall Kirkpatrick of Time to AI Impact. His newsletter surfaced this one, which I think is really fascinating, from Cohere, a major AI player in the world. The whole idea of using inner monologue. Inner monologue is something that you do when you're reasoning or deliberating about some problem and trying to find a solution. But the AIs have not been trained on inner monologue examples. So Cohere is moving forward to create an AI, an LLM that is capable of, based on its training, doing this inner monologue.
That's not scary at all.
Yeah, reflection on that sort of thing. And Marshall Kirkpatrick had already, before he heard this news, started to try this kind of prompting, which is, we say sometimes, hey, think, to take a deep breath, think step by step through this. We're kind of coaching the LLM to do something that's going to imitate the way we would approach a problem solution. And now his way of expressing that was, reflect on the nature of this problem and then answer based on that reflection.
Nice.
That's the whole idea. And Coherus put out a request for contribution from humans of case examples of their inner monologue. So now texts will be delivered for training sets that are examples of human inner monologue.
Robert's trying to figure out.
I don't want anybody to know my inner monologue.
He was ruminating about that one. I could see it.
Well, the problem is most of my inner monologue is my external monologue, as you can probably guess. I don't have much of a filter, so I think they can just record me and I'll be all right. Yeah. Well, all right. On that note, Brian, it's 10:31. Come on.
Oh, yeah, I know.
We weren't here on time.
Well, I have one, but it's a quick one. And then Beth, if you have one, that's fine too. But I just wanted to mention that OpenAI is going to build their own chips, right? And they're not just going to, they're going to manufacture their own chips other than like just do the software and then have somebody else do it. They're directly going to compete with NVIDIA. But this is the part that I think like that you're like, oh yeah, I could see that. They need to have their own internal chips for what they're trying to do and stuff. We sort of talked about that a little bit yesterday with Meta, but OpenAI plans to set up chip factories worth 100 billion. And in the article, it talks about how they're seeking out to raise 100 billion. And I just want to take a second and pause about the idea of a company raising 100 billion. Now, we just talked about how 11 Labs reached unicorn status, which is 1 billion, right? So like the idea and how much money that is that they're raising. And it's kind of just this line note in this article, like, yeah, sure. $100 billion raised. And so they're out there actively working on this and they're going to create their own chips and stuff. And it's a mind-boggling amount of money. So just really interesting. Beth, did you have another one?
So I'm just going to say that like a bunch of the news that came out of Davos and the people who were talking to Davos, and the new information that came out from MIT as a research has this cost of AI like underneath it, right? Sam said at Davos, there are yeah, now I'm thinking of how Spanish is like overdubbing my pause of like, okay, thank you, everybody. How Sam was talking about how they have directions that they know that they think will work. Like they already have the research indicating like, yes, let's move in this place, but they don't have the infrastructure to be able to do that. That's part of why he's going out in that. MIT came out and said, in opposition to like, this is going to affect 40% of all jobs worldwide. That was the IMF's thing. MIT said, probably only 25%, mostly in the developed countries because this is expensive. I'm paraphrasing. Go read the actual research if you want to know what it said. But like that was the underneath theme of all of this. Like, okay, so there's a little bit of reckoning coming based on how expensive it is to train the models. It's not that expensive to use them, but you can't use them if they have not been trained.
And that goes right along with what, Sam Altman said, I think in the Bloomberg interview at Davos, where he's like, listen, I think this push for AI and AGI is going to finally get us over the hump for obtaining fission energy. And like, he was like, because we're going to need a new way to produce energy in order to get this done. Right. And he's like, but this could be the catalyst that actually gets us there. Not that people haven't been actively working on this, but it is interesting when humans all of a sudden have this very real need. And they're like, we really, really want this to happen, like AGI or whatever the case is, how that can pull along some amazing technology that perhaps wasn't able to get there. It's like the 4-minute mile. All of a sudden it becomes a reality. So that's interesting. I think that's really, really cool. If you're listening to this and you're thinking like, man, they didn't mention Meta or anything, and didn't Mark Zuckerberg have a whole thing last Thursday? Yes, but we did a whole episode about that yesterday. So go check out our episode yesterday if you want to learn more of a deep dive into everything that Meta was talking about. But just as an FYI, if you're thinking that wasn't that a big news story in the last week, yes, but we did a whole show about it yesterday to do it. The rest of this week, correction, because I was saying it wrong. Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about human creativity, and is AI helping or hurting that? Is it making it better or worse? And then on Friday, we're going to get into the latest McKinsey report, which is really, really cool. They have like 10 different parts to it. We read the report, or if we haven't, we'll have read it by Friday, and we're going to break that all down and have a good discussion about that. And then we have a whole bunch of other stuff coming up next week. Have another interview that we're doing today. So yeah, all the good things. With that, we'll say happy Wednesday. Have a great one, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.